Coming back to paper 1 questions, the question states, nerve impulses in neurons can travel. The first statement says away from the central nervous system, the second says towards the central nervous system, and the third says within the central nervous system. The question asks, in which direction do impulses in sensory and in relay neurons travel? They provide rows for sensory neurons and relay neurons with options, so here, we have to match the correct statement to the correct type of neuron. The correct answer is D23 because statement 2 describes the direction of impulses in sensory neurons, which travel towards the central nervous system, and statement 3 describes the direction in relay neurons, which travel within the central nervous system. The next question states that the diameter of the pupil of the eye was measured at different light intensities. A bar graph is provided showing the pupil diameter on the vertical axis and light intensity on the horizontal axis. The question asks what the percentage decrease in pupil diameter is when a person moves from an area of complete darkness to an area of very high light intensity, with options provided. To solve this, first we identify the pupil diameter in complete darkness and in bright light from the graph. The diameter is larger in darkness and smaller in bright light. The absolute decrease is found by subtracting the smaller diameter from the larger one. Next, the percentage decrease is calculated by comparing this decrease to the initial diameter in darkness and then multiplying by 100. After rounding to 1 decimal place as instructed, the correct answer is 54.4%. It is important to choose this value and not a similar one because the question specifically asks for rounding to 1 decimal place. The next question states, when a person is frightened, which substance causes an increase in the blood sugar level? Out of the given options, the correct answer is A, because this substance, adrenaline, is released by the adrenal glands during a fright response. It stimulates the liver to break down glycogen into glucose and release it into the blood, providing extra energy for the body to respond to the sudden stress. The next question states, Raynaud's syndrome is a condition that can be triggered by stress. It causes the hands and feet to react as if they were affected by extreme cold. Which reaction will take place in the hands and feet of a person with Raynaud's syndrome? The correct answer is A, because in this condition, the blood vessels at the skin surface narrow through vasoconstriction, which reduces blood flow to the hands and feet. This decreased blood flow makes the extremities feel cold and appear pale, mimicking the body's response to extreme cold. The next MCQ states, as a result of an accident in a factory, a small piece of metal entered the spinal cord of an engineer and severed the tissue at X. The diagram shows a section through the spinal cord in the neck at the point of injury, with a nervous pathway indicated. The injury is on the left side of the spinal cord. Which outcome from the accident is possible? The correct option is B because damaging the spinal cord on one side can affect the transmission of sensory impulses on that same side of the body. As a result, the person may lose some sensation on the left side, while the right side remains largely unaffected. Moving on, the next question states, the diagram shows a section through the eye, with labels for the retina, P, Q, R, and S. The question asks, which two structures focus light rays onto the retina? The correct answer is B, P and R, because these two structures work together to bend and direct incoming light so that it converges precisely on the retina, allowing for clear vision. Next, this question shows, the diagram shows some of the endocrine glands of a human female, labeled as 1, 2, 3, and 4. It asks, which row matches the glands with the correct hormones? The correct row is B, because gland 1 is the pituitary gland in the brain, which produces FSH, gland 2 is the adrenal gland above the kidneys, which produces adrenaline, gland 3 is the pancreas, which produces insulin, and gland 4 is the ovaries, which produce estrogen. Then the next question states, when the body temperature is too high, which process causes the body temperature to return to normal? Out of the given options, the correct answer is C, secretion of sweat onto the surface of the skin, because sweating helps cool the body as the sweat evaporates, removing heat from the skin and lowering body temperature. Next, we move on to another paper 2 question which states, a beam of bright light shines into a human eye for 2 seconds. And a similar beam of light shines onto one side of the tip of a plant stem for several days. Now, Part A asks us to describe the ways in which the human and the plant coordinate their responses to these beams of light. Your answer should include stimulus detection, method of responding. So, for humans we will write, the bright light is detected by the retina or light receptors in the eye. This information is transmitted through neurons as electrical impulses via the nervous system. The response involves muscular contractions in the iris, causing constriction or reduction in the size of the pupil to protect the eye from excessive light. For now, we will not attempt the plant part because this topic will be covered in our upcoming chapter 15, so we will leave it for later. Then, Part B asks, describe the role of synapses in a reflex arc. So here, we will explain that in a reflex arc, synapses allow nerve impulses to pass from one neuron to another in a single direction. Neurotransmitters are released from vesicles, diffuse across the synaptic gap, and attach to receptor proteins on the next neuron, enabling the impulse to continue traveling.